Lou, how we doing?
Good. Enjoying the night, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, brother.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, Lou, hook me up. What's been out of the whole week? What's been kind of your bigger takeaways?
A lot of it's just a reinforcement. A lot of things that I knew, like, I've been exploring. I've been into real estate for a while. I was exploring Airbnb. Went down the Grant Cardone rabbit hole for a little bit.
That's cool.
There's a bunch of reasons why I didn't go, full boat with everything. But I gotta invest my money, and real estate's the way to go.
Got it.
I know it is, and I learned that mistake when I sold that property 3 years ago.
All right. Well, we're learning. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, starting with right now you're an area director, and looks like you're making around $250,000 a year. Is that right?
Yep.
And do you have any goals of like when you'd like to retire? Like, do you love what you do? Do you want to keep doing it? Like, what's your ambition?
I love my role. I love being a leader and developing people, but I want to get out of corporate America.
Okay.
So I am passionate about the coaching aspect and just making an impact.
Yep.
And the thing for me is I just want time. I want to see my kids. I want to see them kind of start their lives. And
How many kids you got?
I have two. I have a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old.
Yeah, so I get that one. I have an 18-year-old daughter, a 15-year-old son, a 14-year-old daughter, and a 12-year-old son. And my wife and I, we call this the decade of dreams because it's like, oh, finally, they're not crap in the bed. We can hold conversations. They're starting to develop some level of abstract and rational thought. And it's like, sweet, like we get to start having real meaningful conversations. Then before you know it, they're 18 and out. And I'm like, geez, I still feel too young. My wife and I started having babies when we were real young. I feel that responsibility of like, I want to be there. So I get that. That's very, very beautiful. Tell me a little bit about where you've been stashing cash, 401ks, IRAs, home equity, break it down.
Yeah. I mean, again, just to be transparent and be vulnerable. We, it's my wife and I, she's a school psychologist. She does well. She'll get a pension, but it's not going to be a ton.
How much does she make a year?
I would say, I'm sorry?
How much does she make a year?
She makes about 100,000.
Okay. Go on. She has a little pension.
Yeah, she'll have a pension. She retires in 5 years. It's like, I just turned 50 this past year, and
okay.
We're never going to retire. We're always going to do something, right?
No, I get you. On her pension, do you have a guess on what you think what she might receive on a monthly?
She'll probably get 65% of that.
So 65%, so 6,500. So she's going to be getting about 5,200 a month.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So you got $5,000 a month there. And then do you have a 401k?
I do. Got about, say 260 in 401k right now.
Okay. Does she have a 401k?
She's got about 35,000-ish.
And then how much of your 401k, is any of it rollover?
It's with the company. So
okay.
I think you just hit
IRAs?
No IRAs.
Stock brokerage accounts?
I do. Got about 50, say 58.
Any other accounts that you're holding money in?
Nothing worth mentioning.
Perfect. Your house, well, what's the value on it?
Right now, I think it's like 680.
And right now,
we owe about 260 in mortgage.
So guys, I'm going to do a simple calculation. You can all follow along with me. I want you to take out your calculator and I want you to put the value of your house in it. In his situation, I'm going to put 680,000 in, and then I'm going to times it by 0.8. And that's going to tell me the maximum allowable money that the bank is going to let him have, which is right around 544,000. And now I'm going to subtract what he owes. So I'm going to subtract 260,000. And that shows me that the bank probably has on a home equity line of credit somewhere around $284,000 that he could access. Do you currently have a HELOC on your house?
I do not.
Okay. I'm going to tell every one of you that it takes about 2 weeks to get a HELOC and it doesn't cost money. You're going to go to 2 different credit unions. Don't go to your bank. I don't care where you bank at. Go to credit unions, go to 2 of them. They have an automated process, takes about 2 weeks. And the reason why you want 2 to compete against each other is one of them is gonna value your house higher than the other in their automated system, because they're not gonna order an appraisal. They're not gonna pay for an appraiser to go out. They're just gonna say, oh, our system takes an aggregate of things like Zillow that are more accurate online and averages them out, and they give you a value. And the reason why you shop for 2 of them is because one bank might say, Lou, you can have 300 grand, and the other bank might say you can have 250 grand. I would go with the credit union that's gonna give me $300,000. And then that home equity line of credit is literally like a checkbook. It's like a credit card that is tied. And in his situation, that's $300,000. Now, I'm out of curiosity, if any of you are doing the math on that, I want you to post what your home equity line of credit could be for. Drop that in the chat so we can have a conversation about it. Again, you take your total value, you times it by 0.8 to figure out what the bank will let you go up to, and then you want you to subtract what you owe. And if there's a positive number there, drop it in the chat so we can have a conversation about it, and Ethan capture those so that I can do a very thorough job on Lou, but I'm gonna give some of you a little mini game plan along the way, because my job here isn't just to answer his question, it's actually to help you understand the logic of what I'm doing as well. So do me a favor real quick, if you're running that math, I want you to just drop a 1 in the chat if you're working on the math, just so I can know who's actually plugging that into their calculator, and I wanna make sure that we're, okay, so from 0.885, he's putting all the math in, 395,000 times 0.8, it's gonna be somewhere right around 300 grand. And then you get to subtract what you owe, and that'll tell you whether you have positive equity. Jerry's got $27,000 of equity that he can get access to, which is really, really great. The rest of you keep working on your math. Ethan, keep an eye on it.
Yep.
All right. So here's the lay of the land for Lou. Lou makes really good income. By the way, he's done a good job giving me his finances. Can we put our hands together for Lou and just say, do a good job for being willing to just share in front of all of us? Really great. And so I look at Lou's situation, and here's how I'm summing it up. It's like that old school movie, Freaky Friday. We switched roles, and now all of a sudden I'm Lou, and I wake up, and I'm an area director, and I'm making $250,000 a year. My wife's making 100 grand. We're at $350,000. She's got a 5K pension coming, a little bit of Social Security when they reach, 65 and a half, and there's another 3 grand collectively between the 2 of them. So they're like at 8-ish grand a month. But guys, they're used to living at 350 grand, not 100 grand. And so the question is, what can we do here? Well, first of all, here's the 401ks, they gotta go and ask their custodian if they can do an in-service distribution, but I'm gonna assume they can't, and because there's a small chance of it, which means that they've got collectively about 300 grand that they can't touch until they move on from their jobs. I'm just gonna share with you a tiny little dirty, rotten little kind of gray area secret. If Lou has a really great relationship with his company and they really value him and he's one of their rare directors, he could technically go to his boss and say, hey, out of curiosity, like if I quit for a month or 2 weeks and then had a change of heart and wanted to get rehired, would you rehire me? And if he had 100% confidence that they would, he could kind of take a little break from his company, release his 401k, get a job back again, and then have $260,000 that he could put in the market. Now, you didn't hear that from me, but I'm just saying I've seen it done. And it is a risk because I don't know what your relationship is. I don't know if your company's like, you know what? We wanted to save the money and we had to downsize someone, and Lou, we love you, but you made that easy for us. That would be awful. I would sleep awful as a human being if I found out that I did that to anyone. So I am free, absolved. I wash my hands of this non-advice. But the 300 grand is now really untouchable. And so here's the first thing that I would suggest. Stop putting into a 401k. Because I get that you get the match, but I would rather have real dollars today. And I got to tell you something about a 401k that most people don't know. Your salaries have been reduced by 9% from what they would pay you so that they can cover their contribution into your match on your 401k. And I don't know about you, but I would rather have the money today than money tomorrow that was only growing at 4.2%. So stop contributing and increase your take home. And there's a reason why I'm about to recommend that, because I'm going to show Lou some math. Lou, how much money a month are you contributing to your 401k?
Right now I'm going up to the match, which is I got to put in 8%.
Yeah. So real quick, what is 8% on 250,000? I'm going to do the math. 250,000 times 0.08. So you're putting in $20,000, or in other words, let me make sure I did that right. 250,000 times 0.08. It's $20,000 a year divided by 12. So you're contributing 16, almost 1,700 a month.
I'm maxing out.
Yeah. So the 1,700 a month is actually a really important number to me for what I'm about to show him, because look at where his assets are at. He's got $58,000 in a brokerage account. And when I look at that, I'm like, okay, that's one home. And then I'm like, well, then the rest of his assets is where, folks? It's sitting in his house. And I'm like, hey, he can get a $284,000 HELOC. And let's just say your wife is also contributing to her 401k. Do you know how much she's contributing right now a year to it?
I just had her stop contributing.
Oh, okay, but what do you think it was? Was it $400 or $500 a month?
Yeah, it was about $500 a month. 500.
So between the two of them, guys, this is $2,200 a month that they were putting in a 401k. I don't want them to put 2,200 in a 401k. I want them to put 2,200 into something different. And here's what it is. If they take out a $284,000 home equity line of credit, they're going to start having an increased mortgage. And let's just say, for argument's sake, that their mortgage is going to go up $2,000 a month. Well, remember, their 401k was $2,200 a month. If instead they put that towards managing their HELOC, now it's equivalent to having $284,000 of free money. No different than if they pulled out $300,000 from their 401k. So watch this. If they can pull out their 401k, it's free, and I can avoid taxes and penalties on it by self-directing it, but then I'm limited on what I can do with it. But instead, I don't put the money into the 401k. I put it towards my HELOC, and I'm freeing up basically $300,000. Each have 300 grand. But when I pull it out of my HELOC, I have no restrictions on what I can do with it. I would rather have $300,000 of home equity to play with than $300,000 of 401k where I have to contemplate how do I avoid taxes and penalties. Either way, it's roughly a wash. Lou, do you see that?
Mm-hmm. That's
okay.
Great.
So now they stop contributing to the 401k. They get $300,000 out of the house. They get to keep their house. I'm not saying sell their house. They add in the brokerage. They're now sitting at $350,000. Now, in my world, $50K is a minimum amount of money per house. You need $60,000 or $70,000 or $80,000 as a 20% down payment. I also have a fund that you can also buy real estate with, and $50K is roughly considered a house. So when I see $350K, $350,000 divided by $50,000 equals 7. In other words, I wake up today as Lou, and automatically, here's what my heart says. I could buy 7 homes. And now we're gonna run some math. By the way, I am not telling Lou what to do. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not a tax advisor, but I'm smarter than all those idiots. Oh, that was really rough, Kris. Guys, rewind the clock on that. I'm a little hot-headed. I was thinking about Dave Ramsey for a minute. All right, then if I take my 7 homes, and if I start that party, and I let my portfolio build for 20 years, let's see what happens if it builds at a 25% ROI. Write this down. Each home is worth $4.3 million in 20 years at 25% ROI. So I'm gonna multiply that by 7, and at a 25% ROI, that's $30 million. Now, in our partnership, that's 15 million for you and 15 million for me, so we can calculate what all that means. But if we are actually taking those 7 and we're actually earning 17.4 million, that's $122 million. So what I'm doing is I'm running the math for Lou as if he's gonna go max, but he's not gonna go max. He's gonna figure out whatever he can do. My job is just to say, what is your top end potential? Because we know what the bottom end potential is. Lou could say, Kris, my wife and I talked about it. We love our careers, and we just wanna start a little more conservatively. We just wanna buy 3 or 4 homes. We don't wanna buy 7. So I'm like, cool. We can run the math, and right now I can say on the top end, there's $30 to $120 million that they could be worth in the next 20 years. Or they could do only half of that and be worth 15 to 60 million. And the reality is, Lou, if his ultimate goal, and I want you guys to get this right now, this is a big deal. Lou's wondering, I don't like the corporate world. What does it take for me to actually replace my income if me and my wife don't want to work but want to keep our $350,000 a year lifestyle? Let's run this math. If we take $30 million and we're going to multiply that by paid off real estate earning 0.05% times 0.05, you're going to have an income of $1.5 million a year. and that's 750,000 for me, 750,000 for you, you basically doubled your income, but that's waiting 20 years, and that's based on a 25% ROI. If we come over to my real numbers and we say, okay, let's just say we're averaging 34% with Krohn. Then we can take the max high end on that, and then we can cut the numbers down. And we're gonna times that by 0.05, and now you have $6 million of positive cash flow here. 3 for you, 3 for me coming out of the business. So then you say, well, Kris, I don't wanna wait 20 years because I don't like corporate America. And then we can start doing the math and saying, okay, in 5 years, what does it look like? Oh, by then the positive cash flow is up to replacing your income. It's not 6 million, it's $300,000. And boom, you're out of your job and it gets to continue growing from there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In other words, you know, when I look at your situation, here's the hurdle that you have. Number one, you have to ask yourself, am I willing to pay $28,000 to start a business that can make me, you know, 8 figures? I think any reasonable human being would say yes, because if you buy a franchise, guys, does anyone here know what franchises cost? Not just for the franchise fee, but the build out. You're gonna range anywhere from $100,000 to $1 million. So if you put $250,000 out for a franchise, it's usually to make $100,000 or $200,000 a year. So right now, this business is gonna cost $28,000 to start. And when you take a look at what it's gonna do, and I'm gonna do 100% of the work, Lou has to ask these questions. Number one, are he and his wife willing to have the investment to start the business? Number two, this is the hard one, guys, especially for wives. And not to overgeneralize to women, but between the two of you, someone's got the nesting instinct and someone is the moneymaker. And between the two of you, you gotta find balance. You know, if you go to your lovely wife and say, hi, I know you do psychology for a living, so I'm ready to be psychoanalyzed because I want to tap into her home equity. She might say, I'm gonna kill you first. Right? I don't know, like that's a sacred cow for some people. He's like, but I can't do the 401k, I gotta show you the math. It's the same at sixes. Like we gotta get money from somewhere. If I can't touch the home equity line, I can't touch the 401k unless I leave, then all we've done is build assets that I can't touch. And I'm screwed. Other than the 58,000 in the brokerage account where you can at least buy a home, which is good, right? You got at least one thing going for you. But that's the second hurdle. And so if you and your wife say, okay, we're willing to start the business, maybe we're a little nervous on that. You might say, oh, we don't care about the home equity. Let's go out and buy 7 houses. Or you might say, can we just start with 2 homes or 1 home? Like, then you get to figure out how to like juggle that. And other than that, you've passed all the hurdles. And now I'm just doing everything. And now get back to living your lives. Focus on your 16-year-old and your 13-year-old. And let's let real estate do what it's gonna do. But if you stay longer in my ecosystem, I'm now gonna start mentoring you on how to actually start making a lot of money a lot faster. And so I'm gonna expose you to all the other things that are like, oh, I've got millions of dollars over time that's being built. Now Krohn's gonna start showing me how to replace my income by buying this business, you know, with no money down and no credit, or I could learn how to wholesale. Kris has got people making several $100,000 a year doing that, but working part-time from home. And then we start exploring, you know, how we can use your leadership skills outside of a corporate setting. And really honestly, Lou, just doing more of what you love in life.
Yeah, love it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, I have not actually given Lou very fair numbers because if Lou and his wife decide they want to move forward, all of that was predicated on a 50-50. Let's actually do the real numbers. On the high end, we have $6 million coming in every year, and now it's a 70-30 split. And so if you take that into account, it's not 3 million for me, 3 million for you. It's actually 4.2 million for you, 1.8 million for me. Or if we're going to do something more conservative, we can start cutting the numbers down, but now at the 70-30 split, and then you just can't breathe a word of that when you come to my events because all of my partners are at 50-50. Like this is a very weird, you guys are falling in a really weird crack where my team is reevaluating the market and they're saying, can we get Krohn to a billionaire faster by changing the splits and by onboarding more partners to eat up the rest of the inventory that we're finding? And the math technically shows that I'll build my wealth faster if I do that. After 20 years, it's a little bit of an adjustment, makes me feel a little sick inside, but I'm a numbers guy too, and I'm not usually emotional when it comes to this stuff, so I'm gonna do what makes the most sense. But you guys are at the start of an experiment that will likely prove that that might be the new direction, but it's still an unknown for us. So what I wanna do is I'm gonna see if Lou has some questions, and I want you guys to drop some as well of, oh, did you just learn something from evaluating Lou's situation? So Lou, let me start with you. What are your thoughts on the game plan?
No, I love it. And I think, that's the help I need. I need, again, being full transparent. I haven't had the mentorship, and I need it. One of the things I like about your approach is, when I think of partnerships, with what I do, you got to have a what's in it for us approach. And I think this is a good what's in it for us approach. Yeah. I don't mind spending the money if I'm getting the ROI.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate it. I'm glad that you see it that way. I think I was asked on a podcast earlier today in my home studio, Kris, teach me something you don't normally talk about. And that word is sustainability. And sustainability only works when everyone wins. And a lot of the world doesn't function on sustainability because, the giving and receiving model, if someone wins more than the other and it's not fair, then it's going to chink the system and eventually it's going to unwind itself, it's going to fall apart. But sustainability is all about, if I can help you, if you can see your future in me, I certainly can see my future in you. And that doesn't come from being stingy. And if there's anyone that looks at my partnership program, they're like, shoot, I just rather do this on my own. Why would I split? I'm like, no, then you should do it on your own. But that also means that you better be playing the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hour mastery game, because if you're unwilling to do that, then you're a dabbler and you're gonna get spanked. So unfortunately, there's not a lot of grace between dabbling and mastery. And in your situation, Lou, if we partner up, man, you're just gonna go right to the top with the smallest learning curve. There won't be a learning curve. We just literally go to the winning, and that game gets to be fun. So guys, everyone give Lou a big round of applause. Super awesome, brother man. Pumped for you and your wife. And that's what your game plan looks like on paper when I napkin it out. I hope you took good notes, and this is, of course, a recorded session. So great. Let's see real quick, Ethan, do we have any other questions regarding Lou's game plan that's useful for them to kind of dive in on?
Yeah, I don't know if this is specific to Lou's, but Mike Doofer is asking, over X number of years, I will receive X millions, which is great, but do I receive monthly checks for income? Oh
yeah, good question. So it's a business, and the business produces cash flow. Now, some of my partners in the first 5 years will be like, you know what, just roll everything forward. I don't really want the money. I just want to grow even more. And others are like, I want to get paid now, and that's cool. This is what you got to know. If Lou decides to say, hey, we're gonna start with 5 homes, the cash flow is going to be meaningful, but in 10 years, the cash flow is going to be monstrous. So the first 5 years of a 20-year game plan, it's like, wow, this is kind of boring. The next 5 years, it's like, whoa, that was interesting. Everything tripled. And then the next 5 years, like, oh my gosh, like it's working. And then by the time we get the last 5 years of the 20-year segments, it's like, hi, Chauncey just dropped me off in my private vehicle to the private jet, to the private function with the private food that I'm eating. No, I'm just messing, but it's amazing that this is a journey. And I always tell people that once real estate is your foundation that you're building, then you actually have some comfort zone to start playing some other games. Lou, for example, he and his wife might say, Kris, we want to buy 4 homes. And then we learned that we want to get into some high asymmetric upside investing, and you have a private investors club. And I would like to get in on 10 different types of company opportunities that all have billion-dollar potential, because in your math, according to my book, Have It All, if 2 of these 10 companies go to the moon and back, moonshot, then we're talking about 20x and 50x and even 100x potential ROIs. And for those of you that are like, oh, my net worth is approaching $1 million, they like to put a little bit into private equity. Now they have some diversification. They have a little bit doing crazy upside. And then they have the other stuff that's just building the stable wealth that's just going to keep on compounding. So there are more options, but I think, Lou, we covered you well enough tonight. And if you ended up being one of my 20 partners, also just by the way that you showed up, man, dude, we'd have fun. We're almost the same age. I'm 44 years old. I'm 45 this year. And kids are the same age. Dude, we're going to have a blast, and we're going to crush this game. And that, my friend, is what we call a game plan. It's basically me stepping into your shoes and saying, hey, if I woke up as you and I had to make millions of dollars as quickly as possible, how would I do it? Well, that is your game plan. And if you would like your own custom game plan, click the link below and request a free game plan today. Let me and a member of my team reach out to you and give you a Kris Krohn certified game plan to find out when you can retire and how quick we can make it happen.